So you're looking to move to Spanish Fort, Alabama, and you've probably have heard everything from it's one of the best suburbs of the state, or it's getting too expensive and too crowded. Well, in this video, I'm going to show you the good, the bad, and the reality of what it's like to live in Spanish Fort. It's actually where I live. We're going to talk about traffic and schools, to hurricanes, to shopping, and what it actually feels like to live here day by day. Hey, I'm Jeff Nelson with IXL Real Estate Eastern Shore, and I help buyers and sellers all over the Eastern Shore, whether it's Daphne or Fairhope or Spanish Fort or the beaches even. Whatever their real estate needs, this is what I do, been doing for about 20 years. So if you are thinking about making a move to this area, give me a ring. You can hit subscribe. There's a ton of videos on my web channel, and all of my contact information will be in the description. So let's get into this. I'm really excited about this video. Again, I live here too, but we're going to talk about the cost of living, neighborhoods, commute, schools, shopping, storms, and yes, the not so pretty parts that you won't see in brochures. So let's start with the good. I must say that one of the biggest reasons why people call me about Spanish Fort is because of the school system. Spanish Fort is one of the 6 major cities of Baldwin County that I refer to all the time and has roughly about 10,000 residents. And the public schools here are consistently rated as some of the strongest in Baldwin County and in Alabama as a whole. So if you're coming from a bigger city or from out of state, that combination of a smaller town feel plus solid schools is a huge draw. Another good feature about Spanish Fort is its location and access. Spanish Fort sits on the north end of the eastern shore of Mobile Bay, so you've got quick access to I-10, the Causeway, and basically the front door to Baldwin County if you're coming from Mobile. That's great if you commute into Mobile for work. It can still back up, but you're as close as you're going to get while staying on the eastern shore side. There's also, there's actually a few different ways you can get over to the Mobile side if you live on the eastern shore, say Spanish Fort. You have the I-10, which we call the Bayway, but right next to the I-10, the I-10 interstate there, which is more sitting above the water, right on the water is the Causeway that also goes over to that side. And if you really want to and need to avoid the tunnel, which is on the Mobile side, you can always go a roundabout way on I-65, which will take you over to the Bay Minette, which will drop you down into Spanish Fort. Another huge plus for Spanish Fort, another good item, is shopping, restaurants, and convenience. For day-to-day living, Spanish Fort punches above its weight. You've got Eastern Shore Center, which is the second largest shopping center in all of the county. You have the Spanish Fort Town Center, where there's a Bass Pro Shop. You have a ton of big box stores, ton of restaurants, a movie theater, all right there. Plus easy shots down to Daphne and Fairhope. Okay, another good aspect of Spanish Fort is the outdoor lifestyle. Spanish Fort is really, they have a plethora, I love using that term, but a plethora of ways that you can get outside and do stuff. If you like getting outside, you've got Mare State Park, you have the Delta, Five Rivers Delta, Blakely State Park. So all this for fishing, boating, kayaking, and hiking, all in your backyard. You're also only about an hour from the beach. So you have, of course, Gulf Shores and Orange Beach just about an hour away. But there is so much to do just if you just want to get outside. And from what I'm understanding, they're adding, like in the next couple of years, something big over there by Blakely State Park. But I need to do more research on that. Okay, so let's get into the bad. I talked about the good, the bad, and the reality. Okay, the bad, I like to also call it trade-offs, because this is a special place in Lower Alabama. Spanish Fort is an awesome place. Actually, the whole county is. But I like to call it trade-offs versus bad. But we got to talk about it, so let's talk about the cost of living and the housing reality. Here's the part a lot of people don't realize. For Alabama, Spanish Fort isn't cheap. Cost of living is a bit higher than average. Some sources put it a little above the national average once you factor housing in. Median home values are floating in the mid to high 300s range, and many neighborhoods are going to be well above that, especially for new construction. It's still more affordable than big metro areas, but if you're expecting deep south bargain prices, Spanish Fort may surprise you. With any great area, you're going to have growth, so that could actually be a trade-off that you have to deal with. So let's talk about the growth, traffic, and construction that's going on in Spanish Fort. So this is the other reality. Spanish Fort is growing. With that growth comes more traffic on Highway 181, Highway 31, and I-10, more red lights and more construction. Outgo traffic and local stations pretty much always have cameras showing the Eastern Shore is backed up, and it usually can clog up around the commute times, heavy commute times at the end of the day and during bad weather. If you want totally rural, quiet, two-lane country roads, Spanish Fort may feel a little busier than you'd like. Okay, we're talking about weather, and we can't single out Spanish Fort because it's just the South. But let's talk about the weather since Spanish Fort is in the South. So we're on the Gulf Coast. Spanish Fort does sit on higher ground than some other coastal spots, which is one reason it's been attractive historically, but we still deal with tropical systems and heavy rain. Some parts of town in the Causeway area can see flooding in big events like Hurricane Sally or the severe storms which we recently had, when officials asked residents to stay put because roads were underwater. So if you're moving here from somewhere without hurricanes, that's just part of reality here. Okay, and the last one trade-off I want to talk about is limited big city amenities. So if you're used to like big city, like think New Orleans, nearby big cities, even Mobile, downtown Mobile, Spanish Fort is suburban. You're not getting big city nightlife, museums, and a ton of diversity in terms of culture and entertainment. For that, you're probably driving into Mobile or heading down into the beaches for events and festivals. For a lot of folks, that's totally fine. They want the quieter, family-oriented lifestyle, but some people do miss the city energy. Spanish Fort, well, you're going to find a lot of family activity things here. Like bowling alley is really huge over here. It's really nice. And they just added go-karts and a mini golf. But we also have other things like, of course, all the parks that I mentioned earlier, as well as little things like they just added an escape room over at the Eastern Shore Center. Urban Air is a trampoline park in Spanish Fort. So there are a lot of smaller things to do. But so far as big nightlife scene, you're going to have to go to a bigger city for that. So let's talk about the reality check. Who is Spanish Fort great for? Families who want strong schools and a suburban neighborhood feel. Also, professionals who work in Mobile but don't want to live in the city itself. You also have people who want shopping and conveniences close by instead of rural driving. And folks who enjoy the Bay, the Delta, and being within reach of the beaches, who might want to look at Daphne or Fairhope or other places. If you're very price sensitive and want lower housing costs, you might want to look at Daphne or even Foley. If you'd rather be right in the middle of the Fairhope charm, like the downtown area or closer to the actual beaches, Fairhope might be your choice. If you really dislike traffic or construction and want something more rural, Spanish Fort can appear, and it is more rural in some areas, and there's going to be traffic everywhere, folks. Let's just get real. The whole area is growing, but Spanish Fort is there right by the interstate, so it does feel like it could get congested right there, especially on Saturdays when people are heading to the beach. So how do you figure out if Spanish Fort is for you? Well, drive it like you live it. Commute in the morning and the evening time, hit Eastern Shore Center and the town center, hit the shopping areas, walk a couple of the neighborhoods, listen for road noise, check slopes and elevations, get a feel for HOA rules. All right, and then also you can talk schools and budget with your local agent, which is, of course, me. So if you're thinking about Spanish Fort, or maybe you're on the fence and you don't know if you might want to consider Daphne or Fairhope, well, this is what I do every day, and I can definitely help you match your lifestyle and your budget with a particular neighborhood or the city. So all of my contact information is right below me and also in the description below. Feel free to check all that out and call me anytime. This is what I do every day, all day.